Hello there and welcome to this new video. Today we will be looking at a very helpful translator's aid, an accessory that you can use from within your favorite CAT tool or in a text editor or when you're writing an email, things like that, to leverage the MT you want to use and special glossaries and more things. So we will be talking about GT4T, but what is it? What does it do? Let's look at that. GT4T is an add-on that allows you to take your MTs and your glossaries with you in virtually any app on your Windows PC or on your Mac, and also to pre-translate files with MT, and it has a bunch of other extra features. But why would you want to use it? Well, maybe your favorite MT can't be connected to your favorite CAT tool. Or maybe the price plan of GT4T is easier to manage than an MT subscription. Or maybe the MT you want to use cannot be purchased in your country. Or maybe you want to use several MTs but not pay for each one individually. Or maybe you want to access MT and glossaries in all your programs. Or maybe just you want a fast MT file translator. So these are some of the reasons why you would want to use it. There are many more, but to see how it works, let's jump in and explain that. So what are the basic functions that you can find in GT4T? So you can use a keyboard shortcut to translate a selection with MT. You can use a keyboard shortcut to see multiple MTs outputs and replace the source. Or you can use a shortcut to see your glossary terms and replace the source. But there are also other things you can do, like pre-translate a file with MT and use extras like the MT tag remover, and I have a video on that if you want to check it out. So let's look at the first use, which is selecting something using Ctrl J, which is the keyboard shortcut, and that will do translate and replace. So let's see that. Okay, so the document we'll be working on is a new CV template that exists in Microsoft Word. So let's say I want to translate something. So for example here, design director, I will select that and I will type Ctrl J. Now that has been translated and the formatting has been kept, and it's been translated with my default MT in GT4T, which is modern MT at the moment. Now the second shortcut we will be looking at is when you want to use GT4T with your CAT tool. So if you're a translator, you're probably using a CAT tool. So in your CAT tool, the keyboard shortcut will be Ctrl-Alt-J. And what this will do is it will fetch the source, it copies it in target, and then it translates and replaces with your default MT. So let's look at that. We are in WordFast Pro, and same, I want to translate design director with my MT. So let's do that with the keyboard shortcut, which is Ctrl-Alt-J. Okay, so I can see that GT4T has copy-pasted the source design director and then translated it with modern MT, which is my default MT in GT4T. So that's one way to use it too. Now the next thing you can do is ask GT4T to display you different MT engines outputs for the same source, and you can do that in any text document or in your CAT tool. So let's look at the CAT tool first. So the keyboard shortcut you will use has now 4 keys needed, and you will start with the Windows keys, which is also called the 4 flags key. So Windows, Ctrl, Alt, J. So you need 4 fingers. Now the source has been copied, and now I see a small context menu with my 4 options, which I can navigate with my arrows, or I can decide I want just to translate with MT selecting by a number. So if I, for example, use the key number 4, that will use this output, which was from Microsoft. So there you go. Now, to see multiple engines in a Word document, I will need to use this shortcut, Windows Control J. So let's do that. There you go. So same here. I get my 4 suggestions that I have set up in GT4T, and I can select either by moving the arrows or using a number. So let's say I want number 1 this time. There you go. It's replaced. So at the moment of making this video, which is September 2021, there are 31 empties available for use in GT4T. So you can connect all of these according to your needs. And to set up your engines, it's pretty easy. So let's look at that in the GT4T panel. So in GT4T, you just need to go to Styles or Industries. And here you can select in this drop down the empty you want, which is the default empty for auto replace a word. So when you don't want to see multiple engines, but just want to directly translate with empty engine, so that's where you set it up. Now, when you want to have multiple engines selected, you just go in that section here and click on multiple engines. And you can here add or remove empty you want to use when you want to see a multiple options. So you just add them there. So you can see I had 4 set up, and these are the 4 ones I had set up here. So the next thing you can do with GT4T is use dictionaries. So you can use a whole lot of online dictionaries, and you can set up your own as well. So let's look at that. It's done with Select and Control D. All right, so let's say I want to look at this word, consultants. So let me use the shortcut, which is Control D. And now what happens is I am getting several suggestions coming from online dictionaries. So this is something I can use that way. Or another way I can do that is I can use my own dictionary. So these are all the online dictionaries that can be connected to GT4T at the moment of making this video. So here again, that's a total of 31. Now, if I use again Control D on that name here, I can see that I have no entries in all my dictionaries. So what I do is I go to glossary here, clicking or just using the letter G. And now I can add the term and its translation. So let's do that. And now if I come back to it with Control D, now this term is known, so I can use it and replace and insert. But this actually becomes very useful because if you want to use glossaries this way, this allows you to do many things. Since this will be in your glossary, when you are using empty, GT4T will remember that you have a word in your glossary, and it will use it so that your empty output will have the target word that you want in your glossary. So that would be very useful. So for example, if you have a term that's untranslatable, like a name, and it's not necessarily recognized by the empty you're using, well, you can add that to your glossary, and whenever you're leveraging empty with GT4T, this term won't be translated. Same for a specific term. And that's also good if you are in your CAT tool and you want to use empty with a term in your glossary. And what happens is you don't want that term to be sent out to empty. So you want to keep that term private, and that will be done using that glossary function. So let's look at that. So let's say I want adatum here to be a term that is hidden and is never translated, never sent to empty, but can be translated by GT4T. So I grab that term, and here again I use Control D. So GT4T tells me there are no entries for that term, so I will go to the glossary and add something. So adatum, I want it to be called no translation sent. Save it. And now I will use my shortcut like we used before to translate within CAT tool. Ctrl-Alt-J, so let's go with that. All right, so it's done it. Okay, so no translation sent, and it translated société. So Adatum hasn't been seen by the MT engine serving that translation. It was asked to translate only corporation, and GT4T locally on my computer translated no translation sent. So that's very useful, especially if you want to keep something anonymous. So another thing we can look at in GT4T is that you can ask it to keep tags safe and do not translate things that appear between these symbols here. So when you are in your GT4T panel, so you can look at this part here, styles or industries, and you can ask for more automatic translation fixes and click on that. And here, so you can ask it not to translate text between these brackets here. So any type of code that you would find in a file, if you're translating file directly in a software file, if you want, then you can edit that here. And you can do a few things that you can set up depending on the language you're translating. Some of these might be useful to you. So let's throw a tag to GT4T to see how it reacts. So here I have added a footnote to this name, Yuri Tanaka. Okay, so that creates a tag in my cat tool. So let's see how it behaves. So here again, Ctrl-Alt-J. Okay, so my tag has been kept. We can see it's intact. So it's there. So that's very good. Okay, so once you have downloaded GT4T and installed it on your computer, it will run in the full version for a while, and after that then you will have either to purchase or continue with the free version. So if you're using the free version, you will access only a limited number of MT engines and the file translator will be unavailable. Now, the way GT4T pricing works is based on the number of characters that you will be using and, like it says here, the MT tier factor. So when you're looking at engines in GT4T, you can see how much each one will use characters depending on how expensive and how cheap they are. So if you go to style or industries, for example, you see here that modern MT is selected and it gives me a price factor of 0.93, which equals a character count of when modern MT will see one character, it won't count a full character, or to make it simpler, well, when it's 1000 characters, it's only 930 characters that will be deducted. So all the MTs in there have a different price factor for characters. So let's look at that. So to make it easier to see and understand, I have created this graph. So you can see here that the most expensive one at the left is tilde, which is crazy expensive and has a price factor of 5. After that, you get Atman, which is at 1.9. And then you have two engines that are at 1 price factor, cloudtranslations.com and DeepL Pro. So these two, each time you're using a character will be deducted from whatever you have purchased on GT4T. Then you have another level here, which is all the engines that are at 0.93. Among them, you get Amazon, IBM, Google, the old Google one, Modern MT, and Naver. And then you have another family of engines, which are all at 0.38. So that's all you can see there, and at the bottom there's one at 0.27. And that sort of price family will help make up the package that you want to buy. So that explains why, for example, when you're looking at this page, you will see DeepL Pro planned because they are in one price tier, and then Google or Microsoft Translator plans. So Google will be in one price tier and Microsoft will be in another price tier, and then you've got slim plans. So considering that, then we can sort these plans in different categories. So your price plan can be character based. So you will buy a number of characters and that's it. So then you will need to decide what is your engine price family and the quantity of cars that you will be looking at. So when you go in GT4T, you go to the About tab and you click on Buy Pro, and here you will get your plans, okay? And so here, for example, you can use a plan that is based on characters. So for example, 1 million characters with no time limit. So you can use up all your characters, and that is for the Pro 1 plan, which will be DPL as the main engine price factor of 1, but we can change that. Say we look at the price factor of Google, so that brings us the 1 million characters at 44.85, and if we look at the cheapest engines, which is the Microsoft family, then that makes the 1 million characters at 1860. Of course, if you're buying less characters, that will be cheaper. If you're buying more, that will be more expensive. So that's when you buy by quantity of characters. Now let's say you're not interested in a quantity of characters, but more in something that is time-based. So you want to use GT4T for X amount of time. So here you will need to look at the engine price family. Yet again, the cars will be unlimited on your shortcut use. Okay, so you can use as many characters as you want when you're using the shortcut, but on the file translator you have a limit to keep it like a fair use at 100,000 characters per month to translate files just on the file translator alone. So in GT4T, so that's the ones that you can see here, 12 months, 6 months, 1 month. And here again, they are by tiers. So here DPL, when we look at, for example, 6 months plan, well, that will be 2186. If we move it to the level 2 plan, which is Google price family, that brings the 6 months at 14. And with the cheapest tier, we get 6 months for $6.19 a month. So there you go. And of course you have the slim plans. So the slim plans, they work a bit differently. So with the slim plan, that's the same as with everything, but you will have to bring your own API keys. So for example, let's say you have already purchased an API key with DPL. Well, you can bring it there and just pay a very small amount to be able to use DPL with GT4T, and the same with Google Translate, Modern MT, all of these. And that will be either car based on the amount of characters you will be using in GT4T with your own engine, or that can be based on time as well. So these are the slim plans here, so you can see that that's very cheap. So if you buy 6 months, you will be paying 1.57 a month, which is very cheap. So that's already cheap, but since you're watching this video, we will make it cheaper. So when you're buying, you can enter this coupon code here, FI2 and Co. So I will put it in the video description. If you apply this coupon code, you will get 10% off GT4T. So your price will be down 10%. So that's very good. And I will get a small kickback as well for my work making this video. So there's one thing we haven't looked at yet. And that thing is here, the file translator in GT4T. So what you can do is you can just drag and drop the files that you want to translate in here, and they will be translated. Or you can pre-translate files that are in your CAT tool. So for example, if you have a WordFast project and you want to translate it with GT4T, so you will see here, so I have my project, which is current here, which is called GT4T, and GT4T will fetch automatically on your machine the existing project, and then you will be able to translate those files with the language pair you have specified. So for example, here I have set up some language pairs, and it will do the same for Trados and Cafetron project. You will find them on your machine and you can pre-translate your file super fast with the engine that you want. So when you're translating a file with GT4T using the file translator, it is extremely fast. So if that's something that is useful for you, well, there you go. That's how you can do it. And of course, there are more things you can do with GT4T, more settings you can tweak, but we will leave it at that for the moment. And if you have questions, please put them in the comment section below. You can also watch Dallas Cow, which is the developer of GT4T, the videos that he has done on his YouTube channel. And I will put all the links useful in the video description, and whatever information you may need extra, well, you can ask Dallas Cow as well. He's very good. So you can write him an email finding contacts on his website. And if you're buying GT4T, well, use my discount code. You get 10% off, and that's FI2NCO. I will put that in the video description. And I hope this video will be useful to you, and I'll be talking to you in the next one. Bye bye.